Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. With the voice, Milt Thompson. Delivering the best of sports programming. Interviews with top celebrities. And the answer to the question, where are they now? And now, Milt Thompson, Playing for Keeps.
Welcome to Playing for Keeps. You're probably wondering, who is this guy? And where is Milt Thompson? Well, I'm Curtis Baker, president of the Broad Ripple High School Alumni Association. And Milt is on location at Broad Ripple High School for the Coach William R. Smith Sr. IPS Basketball Classic with basketball star Mike Woodson, a proud product of Broad Ripple High School, where he was coached by the great William R. Smith Sr. Mike was a high school All-American and 1976 Indiana All-Star, and he was recruited by Indiana University. Mike became the 5th leading scorer of IU, where he amassed 2,061 points. He was selected to the NIT All-Tourney Team, Pan Am Gold Medal Team, and he was a Big Ten MVP and Collegiate All-Star. In 1980, he was a first-round draft pick for the New York Knicks. His NBA playing career was with the Knicks, New Jersey Nets, Kansas City Kings, Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Clippers, and the Houston Rockets. Woodson later coached for 7 different NBA franchises. He worked as an assistant for the Milwaukee Bucks, Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia 76ers, Detroit Pistons, Los Angeles Clippers, and the New York Knicks. Woodson went on to serve 6 years as head coach for the Atlanta Hawks, where he made the playoffs his last 3 seasons. He also spent 3 seasons as head coach for the New York Knicks. In 2021, Mike was chosen as head coach for the Indiana Hoosiers. And now the story continues. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be back with the exclusive interview for Michael Dean Woodson.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
Welcome back to Playing for Keeps. Yes, I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson, right here on WHMB's Channel 40 every Friday night at 9 p.m. You know, we've got not only good sports programming, the best sports programming, not just here in central Indiana, not around Indiana, but across the entire globe. When you take the list of the people that we've had on the show, you know, you're high on that list, my brother. And I'm glad we got the feathery one here for you. Everybody gets a nickname. You're the feathery one. You know why?
I don't know why. Why is that?
When I watched you shooting down at IU, that feathery jumper, man, that's it.
That's the first time I've heard that and been called that.
Well,
so
that's why you get a nickname on the show.
I'll take it.
You're the Coach Mike Woodson.
Yeah.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And welcome to your old stomping grounds here in the bowels of Broad Ripple High School.
It's good to be back. It's been many, many years since I've been in this building, boy. So it's nice to have walked in this building and sit here and do an interview with you. Well,
they've been doing a little tributes here today to your former coach and a lot of coaches of the others that have been around here today. And we've talked to people from Shortridge and from Addicts and Alt Tech and all around here. And here you're back at Broad Ripple with a city with the size of IPS has shrunk. They don't have nearly as many teams.
I asked you guys that a few seconds ago, how many schools we had left, and there's only 4 left. And we had 13 at one time, obviously, and I don't understand that. You know, again, I've been away for some years, and all the schools that have left were unbelievable schools.
Right.
You know, and I think back to Addicts and Northwestern and Broad Ripple.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, Manual, Wood,
the Blue Devils.
Yeah, Marshall, I think, was a part of that. Yeah. So I mean, there were a lot of schools, man, and I knew a lot of guys that played, for those high schools that are.
A lot of them have been here, strolling through here today. Wayne Pack was here, and Clarence Crane, and we go back through the whole list of those who've been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, a lot of great ones, man.
A lot of great ones, and you've had your run here at Broad Ripple. A couple other great ones out of George Hill came out at Broad Ripple High School.
Oh, yeah.
And you got the great jumping, jamming Curtis over there, man.
Curtis Baker, yeah.
the great Curtis Baker. So we had them all. Mike, though, your coaching career came from a great playing career. Tell us about your playing career here at Broad Ripple and then on to IU, where you met with greatness and then thereafter into the NBA.
Well, I stepped foot in the Broad Ripple. There was a coach by the name of Partee, and he just took a liking to me. That's kind of what jump-started me. And I remember when playing in games, he would always say, "Get hot, Woodson, get hot." I could always remember those words. And then I ran into Bill Smith. You know, Bill, as a sophomore, you know, gave us an opportunity, number one, to come in and watch, you know, the big boys and how they did it. And Bill, to me at that time, because I lost my father at an early age, was kind of a father figure, and stern and respectful, and you knew he meant business, man. I mean, especially in the classroom, and when it came time to play basketball, you knew who was in charge. And I needed that in my life at that time, you know, being a young teenager, trying to navigate and figure out what I was going to do in terms of basketball and getting an education. And he was right at the forefront. I mean, he set the table, allowed me to shine as a basketball player on the floor. And I played with some great players at Cox, you know, Gary, Chenault. I mean, there were a number of guys that we played that were teammates of mine that were good, solid, players. I mean, and you had it throughout the state, especially in the inner cities. You had
Rich
just so much talent. But Smitty was, when I look at Smitty and the relationship he and I had, dating back to Broad Ripple, it never wavered. In terms of, even after I left Smitty and went to college, went to the pros as a player, started coaching in the pros, Smitty and I's relationship, it stayed the same all those years. And eventually, you know, it's kind of a complete circle for him. He eventually started working for me as a coach, and that was the biggest highlight of probably my whole coaching career, to be able to bring him back with me and be a part of the NBA life. Man, it was like a dream come true for me.
Well, hearing you and the other greats and how affectionately they talk about the mentorship that they got. We have heard about Coach Theophanis today, and heard about Coach Green today, and then here talking about Coach Smith. And not only what they did in the classroom, but all what they did on the basketball court, but what they did to imprint what it means to become a young man, then a grown man. Tell us about that maturation process and things he had to do with it.
Well, again, you know, I mean, I think when you're a young man and you lose a father figure, like I did at the age of 13, you know, as a young kid, I was searching. And when I came to Broad Ripple, you know, I didn't know a whole lot of people. I came here because my nephew, Ross Davis, was going to attend Broad Ripple with me. But when I met Smitty, you know, I called him Smitty because he, you know, I could. When I met him, you know, it was just, I mean, he was straightforward. He loved my mom. She loved him. And basketball for me started to take off, you know, very quickly. You know, I started so late, you know, as a basketball player. I didn't start playing actually until the 8th grade. And so things started to take off, and Smitty played a major role in that. And he just made sure that we, you know, I mean, as young teenagers, I mean, we were doing all kind of things that we probably shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
But Smitty was right there in our corner, making sure that we just didn't drop off the ledge and go the other way. And that's what I think him probably more than anything, because I could have easily gone the other way. But he made sure that, you know, that I graduated from high school and had a hell of a high school career as a basketball player.
Yep, you had that feathery jumper that got you recruited to D1 schools
Yeah.
and then ultimately down south in Bloomington. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, I mean, it was, I think back to that. A lot of people don't know Smitty was in line for the Wisconsin job. And, I didn't want to go to Wisconsin.
Right.
My goal was to play at IU, and because it was an hour away,
Right.
they graduated 4 seniors. I had an opportunity to go in and play
play.
right away. And, my family could come an hour to see me. So I just, that was one of the hardest things in telling Smitty, because if I committed to Wisconsin, he gets the job. And a lot of people didn't know that. And that was tough. So that's why
A lot of people still don't know that, but now they finally know that. Thanks for talking about that.
And and he never got a shot. He really never got a shot at college, at a big time program,
Right.
which I thought he deserved.
Right.
And then he just kept doing his thing here until he won a state title, and that kind of put him on the map, I thought, because he did it when it was tough.
Right.
Only
Only
one
gets to-
can go get it,
Right.
and he was able to do that. Where a lot of coaches can't say they've been in those shoes, but
Tribute.
yeah, absolutely,
That tells you a lot right there,
yeah,
doesn't it?
a whole lot. But
In the rafters.
he played. I think he set. And I can't say a lot enough. He set the table, the tone, for me going to IU. When I made the commitment to go, I think his tutelage and coaching prepared me for Bob Knight, because Smitty wasn't no slouch. Now, Smitty was a tough coach that was demanding, that he's a disciplinarian. I mean,
Right.
he stayed on guys to do the right things on and off the court. So for me, it was kind of an easy roll in.
Continuation of
yeah.
the same sort of kind of
Yeah,
discipline.
playing for Bob Knight.
Going
And
for Coach Knight. I hear the same things from Quinn Buckner and
yeah.
from Scott May and from all those who come through that program that, it wasn't always the easiest thing,
No, it wasn't.
but it was the right thing for them at the time.
Yeah. And, when I went down there, Smitty was always in my corner, knowing what he knew I knew in terms of the Wisconsin gig.
Right.
And he never wavered in terms of our friendship.
And support.
Always. He was always there. And fortunately for me, I had a great 4 years at Indiana and was able to get drafted in the NBA. And I played the 11 years. But when I jumped off into coaching, he was one of the first guys I called just to talk about basketball and what it entails in terms of being a coach.
Right.
And he was right there. But I never told him if I ever got in position, I would come back and get you. And when I got the head job in Atlanta, I called him and I said, listen, you want to learn the NBA game. Now here I am,
Right.
I'm a coach now telling my mentor.
How to coach. There's a little difference here, right?
Yeah, I'm telling him how to coach, telling him where he's been doing it all his life.
Right.
And I said, you want to learn the NBA game? He said, absolutely. I said, well, you got to come here twice a month to Atlanta and sit in my meetings and be a part of the games, prep.
Lace them up. Let's
preparation.
go.
And he did that. He did it for 6 years. And then when I got the head job in New York, I said, hey, man, you ready to coach? He says, absolutely. And I brought him to New York, man, as my assistant coach, man, and that was...
To my full circle,
yeah,
right?
Full circle.
Most people know about Mike Woodson. They know about his college playing days and his professional days and even professional coaching days. And so then this movement to that coach at his alma mater, they said, he's an NBA coach. He doesn't know anything about that. Can he recruit? Can he do anything down at IU? The story's still out, but we still think you can do it, right?
Well, let me just say this. I've never, as a player, bought into what people said I can't do. I'm not built that way because I'm not telling you what you can do and can't
Exactly.
do. You know, that's just not my makeup.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
We talked to a lot of the great players from around here that are going into the Indiana Hall of Fame, and their great careers. But what did they do after that? What did they do to pay it forward? What did they do to pay from that discipline, the educational pursuits, the chasing of trophies? What does it mean to be a teammate? Tell us about that in the storied history. Most people know about Mike Woodson. They know about his college playing days and his professional days and even professional coaching days. And so then this movement to back coach at his alma mater. They said, he's an NBA coach. He doesn't know anything about that. Can he recruit? Can he do anything down at IU? The story's still out, but we still think you can do it, right?
Well, let me just say this. I've never as a player bought into what people said I can't do. I'm not built that way because I'm not telling you what you can do and can't do.
Exactly.
You know, that's just not my makeup. Mm-hmm. So for somebody to say that don't know Mike Woodson, you have the right to say it, but you just kind of brush it off and you keep moving. And I got a long way. You asked me how I was doing. We got a long way to go, man, you know. Mm-hmm. And my clock's ticking, you know. I mean, I came back to Indiana and my alma mater to coach with the thanks of Scott Dawson giving me the opportunity to come back home to do really two things: win Big Ten titles and national titles. That's all I care about. You know, I tell my players all the time, it's not about me. I've had my day, and it was a good run, but all I'm thinking about now is winning a Big Ten title and a national title. That's what our fans deserve.
Bring the ring.
No,
Bring the ring.
Our fans deserve it more than anything because we got the greatest fans that's ever walked the college basketball floors, man. I mean,
we are diehards.
Yeah,
you know, we do pay
fans.
attention.
No, we have great fans, but we really do.
So you've got a nice ball club now, and on the younger side, but some veterans and people that stuck around the program when the day of the portal and NIL and all these other things that might be other distractions. You've managed to keep your core pretty much together.
We have.
What are the new challenges in college basketball that you didn't face back when you were
Well,
there?
I mean, you know, I don't care what level you coach basketball. I never coached in elementary or high school. But basketball is basketball. I mean, it's how you navigate and deal with the players that you're coaching and the buttons to push when you're coaching them. Because you got so many different personalities, and that's what people don't understand. You know, they think, well, you just throw it up and you give them this and that, and it doesn't work like that. You know, it's like building a company, man. You got to make sure that everybody's on the same page and is pulling for the same thing. And, you know, I think we got a great nucleus of guys on our team with veteran guys like you mentioned and young guys. But the key for us, in which we're experiencing now, is injuries. You know, I mean, I don't care how you cut it. I spent 34 years of my life in the NBA. You lose key guys, it's gonna be a struggle.
It's gonna be tough.
And but I'm one that I never look at excuses. You know, I just feel like it gives somebody else an opportunity to shine. So you got to be ready. It's the next man up, man. You know, you can't sit and sulk because Trace Jackson Davis is not in the uniform or Xavier Johnson's not in the uniform. You wearing a uniform. Let's see what you can do to help us win. So that's kind of always been my theme as a coach. You know, can't use excuses, man.
After a long NBA playing tenure, coaching wasn't even in your mind, was it?
No, not at all.
So something had to trigger you to get off into that, and I understand the experience was not one that anybody else would really care about.
It's a great story. You know, I mean, in terms of, you know, when I left the game, I was, 11-year run, I was just happy to breathe and relax. And I got a call in '93 from Cotton Fitzsimmons, who's no longer with us, who went into the NBA Hall of Fame last year, which I attended. And he said, hey, Woody, hey, man, why don't you come out to Phoenix and be my assistant in the summer league? And I'm like, Cotton, come on, man, I don't want to coach, man. I'd had a good run as a basketball player. Said, oh man, we could play golf every day.
Now that might change your mind, right?
I said, okay. I jumped on the plane. I flew out to Phoenix. It's true story, first day of practice. We're about 30 to 35, 40 minutes into practice. And, Cotton's leading practice. And I'm just, I'm ears wide open. I'm just eyes big as I don't know what, trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, Cotton says, hey, Woody, I'll see you later. I'm going to play golf. And I said,
So that's why I came out here.
well, what am I going to do? He says, you got to stay here and coach the team. Now, I'd played 11 years professionally. You would think I have some kind of knowledge and ideal of how to run a practice.
Right.
Had no clue.
No clue.
No clue. And once he left me, and I faked it, and they knew I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Take it till you make it, right?
And from that point on, the juices started to flow. I knew it was a different helmet that I would be wearing, and I started to pursue it. And then I got my first gig in '96, and I never looked back.
And look back and keeping the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Now, you've had some impressive names as coaches, and you mentioned Cotton Fitzsimmons as one. Of course, everybody knows about the legendary Rubber Montgomery Knight with Bobby Knight. What things have you taken from them in this pursuit of learning to be a coach and then actually now teaching others to how to do it?
Well, I think about all the coaches that I played for, starting back with Bill Smith, Bobby Knight. I had Lenny Wilkins at one time, Red Holtzman, the great Larry Brown, Don Chaney, Gene Shue.
Whew, that's a list right there.
And then the guys that I worked with, Randy Whitman, George Carl, Larry Brown, Doc Rivers, Tom Thibodeau. I mean, the history of it's just so much. I mean, it's so much basketball knowledge when I'm, just all the guys that I've named. It's incredible, and all I've ever tried to do is really just be a sponge. And if it was just picking up one little thing and trying to flip it into what I feel and how I like to coach and do things. Larry Brown, to me is probably the greatest coach I've ever worked for because he taught me how to prepare and win.
Winning.
And that's all he's ever done.
Winning.
He won in high school, he won in college, he won in the ABA, he won in the NBA. I mean, but he was my big mentor in terms of coaching, in teaching me how to prepare and be a coach, and not just accept, making a check.
Well, I wish I could just sit here and talk with you all day long, Mr. Woodson. Thank you so much for taking the time here on Playing for Keeps, because I'd play all kind of association games with you, and I talk about some of the greatest players you played with and some who you played against.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. You played with some great ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some Hall of Famers.
Oh, yeah.
And against some of those too, but my goodness, the career that you've had is one that others would want to emulate.
Well,
I always talk about imitation, but I also think about emulation because that's what you want to be like.
Well, I've been blessed, my man.
Amen.
Ain't no doubt about it.
Well, you guys are hearing the definitive word here from the feathery jumper of Mike Woodson right here on Playing for Keeps. And yes, I am your host, The Voice, Milt Thompson. Come back. We'll see you next week.
All right, my man. Thank you.